Okay, well, welcome everyone. This is the recording of the Grants Online Authorized Account Approver webinar for our reauthorization process. This one is specifically for fiscal year 2020. This is an update to the webinar that we recorded and posted last year in fiscal year 19. We have some new features in the system that we built in based on feedback that we got. So we're very thankful for the feedback that we got from our users last year. And we hope that these new features will be helpful and really speed up the process for our end users. Let me start off by reminding you that we have to do this process annually because it's actually a federal mandate that we make sure that we are reviewing the user accounts that we have in this federal system. We need to make sure that the users that have access are the current users that should have access, and that any users that may have had accounts in the past, that their accounts are removed if they no longer need access to the system. So that is why we now have to go through this process on an annual basis. And we want to make sure that when we get audited, that we can show evidence that we have indeed gone through this exercise and worked with our users to get our accounts authorized. We're going to make sure that you guys understand what an AAA is. So let me just explain that for you. AAA, that is a Grants Online Authorized Account Approver. For our internal staff, those are our federal people. The authorized account approvers are those that have been designated as having the authority to contact the Grants Online Help Desk and request new user accounts, request changes to current accounts, or to request that accounts be removed from the system. Unlike the recipients, our federal users do not have the ability to manage their own users. They have to work through the Grants Online Help Desk to manage those accounts. So those that have that designation as federal authorized account approvers, those are the ones that already know that they are the ones that can request updates to user accounts. For our recipients, our authorized account approvers are the same people that have the role of recipient administrator on your accounts. You are the folks that have the ability to add users for your organization. You can update the roles or the access for users that you currently have, and you can also what we call disassociate the users, so they're not completely disabled. We do that ourselves at the Grants Online PMO, but we do allow you to basically let the system know that your users no longer are associated with your organization. So that is something that the recipients have the ability to do for their own users within their organizations. And we've done that because our help desk is not that big, and we are not staffed to be able to manage all of the accounts for all of our various federal users. So we have allowed for our recipient users. So we now push that authority out to the recipients to manage your user accounts. Okay, if you have not set up your security questions to log into the system, you're going to have to do that before you can actually log into the system and do this process. So make sure that you have your security questions set up, or else the system will force you to do it at the beginning. Okay. Let's see. I want to make sure that you guys also understand that this process is a role-based process. In other words, when you reauthorize your user accounts, it's not going to be account by account for the whole account. You're actually going to have to look and review all of the roles that are on the accounts for each user. Some users may have multiple roles, some users may only have one. But in Grants Online, your access is determined by the roles that are assigned to your user account. So you folks that are the authorized account approvers will be looking at each role for each of your users. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going down through our list of things to make sure that you understand. Let me make sure that you understand the window of opportunity to actually go through this exercise. You will be able to start doing this particular reauthorization process next Monday, which is October the 28th, 2019, and you will have 2 weeks to complete the process. So you will have from Monday, October the 28th, through Friday, November the 8th, also 2019. And this is our process that we will be completing for fiscal year 2020. Another point that I want to make sure that you guys understand is that for each organization, there may be more than one person designated as an authorized account approver. If there are more than one person that has access to the same group of users, please note that whatever is the last update made before we close the window on November 8th, that is the status that we're going to apply to the user accounts when we're ready to apply all of the changes that you have requested. So during this window of opportunity, you are going to be basically indicating to the system what you would like done to these user accounts. When you take these actions during this 2 weeks, we are not applying these actions directly to the accounts right at that moment. We will not apply your indications until after the window of opportunity is over. So you have a chance to make some decisions and make some changes if you need to, all during that 2 weeks. And then after November the 8th, we will apply whatever the status is as of that date. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and log in. I'm going to log in as a federal user, but the process is the same for both our federal and recipient users. There's just a minor difference on the screen. I will show that to you, but the process is going to be the same for our federal and recipient users. Notice I am in our test system. So I do not know the actual production user ID and password for this user that I'm going to use, but I'm going to use the account for one of our grants managers at NOAA. His name is Alan Conway. I'm using his test account. I do not know his password in production, so please be assured that we also abide by security measures here. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And we have a test password that we use when we're testing. Okay. And now I am in Grants Online in our test system. And when we log in, you are automatically under the inbox tab, and at the top, you have a link that says AAA functions. So that link brings you to a page that allows you to do two different things. During the most of the year, when you're not actually doing the reauthorization process, you will have this top link available to you. This link is always available to you, and it allows you to run a current list of your users as of that particular day whenever you run the list. And so again, this is available to you whether you are a recipient user or a federal user. If you click on that link, it will create on the screen a list of your users, and then you have this Excel link right here to export this particular list to the Excel to an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can manipulate it any way you would like. One of the improvements that we have made in this year's deployment of the authorization has been we have added our user's email and phone number to this listing. We did not have that information last time, so we've added the email and phone number for our users, and that should give you a better way to contact the users if you need to. Okay, now to go back to the functionality, I can either use my breadcrumb or I can use this link here. I'll go ahead and use the breadcrumb at the top. And that brings me back to the screen. Again, you will not see this bottom part of the screen until this Monday coming, when we start the window of opportunity to allow you to actually do the reauthorization process. This part of the screen will only be available during that 2-week window. Okay, so now that we have seen how you run a list of your users, we're going to go into the actual functionality of doing the reauthorization of your accounts. Before we do that, there is one more thing I do want to emphasize for our recipient users. You that are our recipient users, because I'm logged in as a federal, I cannot show you the functionality that you have in addition to this link, but our recipient users also have another way to generate reports of their users. You can find that information from the training page. So I just clicked on the Help tab. I'm going to go to the training site. And if you're a recipient user and you click on Grant Recipient Training Resources, you have a special guidance document for those of you that are our recipient administrators. And that guidance document is down here at number 5, Recipient Administrator Task Reference Guide. This will walk you through all of the functionality that you have as a recipient administrator in terms of managing your accounts. And it will also show you how you can run other types of reports for users within your organization. All right, I'm going back into the Grants Online screen right now. And let's now go through the process of doing some reauthorizations. I'm going to click on, well, we have the radio button already here in the by organization feature. So these two options that you have, by organization or by user, are basically a way that you can search for your users. Some of you may only have one organization that you're an AAA for. If that's the case, of course, then it doesn't really matter which option you use. But if you are, especially within our federal staff, they have multiple organizations that may be under their purview. And so you can actually narrow down the users that you're doing by organization. Or you can use this and narrow down the search results by user, and then for each user you can pick an organization. So let's go back to the top radio button, and I'm going to say I want to look for everybody in my organization that has access, that has user account roles for the National Marine Fisheries Service. This is an internal organization that we have within NOAA, and either I can pick on a specific user or I can pick all users. Let me just go ahead and narrow it down to a specific user and a specific set of roles within organization roles within that for that user. I'm going to click my search. And now I see this particular user has several different roles in Grants Online associated with that one organization. As you see here, this particular user is a grant specialist, and all of these roles are associated with the National Marine Fisheries Service. However, for our federal users, there's another level that we can determine what your role is, and that level is also by the CFDA number. This is, again, only for our grants management users. And so if you're a recipient, you will not see this column, CFDA or threshold. Only our internal folks will have that column. So since I am logged in as an internal user, I see that column and I see that there are several roles that are assigned to this user for that particular organization. Notice already that I have taken some actions. So earlier today, as we were practicing before we actually recorded this webinar, we went through the process of doing some reauthorizations. But then now I'm going to show you that we've got a few that don't say reauthorize. We have this one that was removed, this particular role, again, that was removed, and this one that we said AAA disclaimed. Disclaimed means I'm not quite sure why this particular role is on this user's account, or I am not even quite sure that this is my user, and so I'm going to disclaim that I have authority to do anything to this particular user or to this particular role. So those are the other options that you have. Your 4 options, and I'm going to show you with the drop down, are AAA notified. When you open up the when you first come into this page, all of the statuses are going to say AAA notified. The options you can choose are AAA disclaimed, AAA reauthorized, or AAA removed. These are the actions you can take. Okay? Now, because we had worked with this particular user earlier, you see they all say AAA reauthorized. I'm going to now click on this reauthorize all button. It's not really going to do anything because they all say AA reauthorized already. But what it does do for me is it gives me this undo reauthorize all button. Notice it did not operate on any of the ones that said something different. It just gave me the undo reauthorize all button. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because I wanted to change the screen to show you actually what it's going to look like when you first come into the system. When you first come into the system, the status of your users are going to say AAA notified. Okay, that's the default. Once you come in and you see all of these statuses that say AAA notified, you can now start going through this list and making changes as needed. Our assumption is that you're going to go through the list from top to bottom. So as you're going through, you're going to determine what kind of statuses to change these roles to. What you just saw was this new button that we have, Reauthorize All, and it allows you to change every status that says AAA notified to AAA reauthorized. And that is for those that are displayed on the screen at that moment. So based on the search we did, those are the ones that are going to change. It's not going to change the other users that I have authority over because I didn't search for everyone. But it will change those that are on the screen right now with AAA notified. So before I actually do that, use that button, I want to first make sure I have gone through all of the roles that this user has and make sure that there are no roles that need something else other than reauthorized. And say perhaps I actually want to remove this particular role. So I'm indicating to the system that that particular user's role needs to be removed. Another thing that you may have noticed just now is that the one that I just changed just now, and notice the date timestamp, this is the change I just made, this particular one has now moved to the top of the screen. And any of the records that were above it have moved off the screen. They're just moved off the screen temporarily. They're still in the database. So just because you don't see them on the screen doesn't mean they're not there. And I can show them again by clicking on my search. And it brings all of my data back. So for this particular organization and user, I have 24 records in the system. As I make changes, I'll make a change here. The one I just made a change to pops to the top, and the ones that are above it are gone, and then we can keep going down the list making changes as needed. Okay? All right. So notice I did not select reauthorized for these particular records because I want to use my reauthorize all button. I'm going to go back to my search screen, show everything for this particular user, all 24 records. Now that I have changed the ones that I do not want to reauthorize, I can go back and click on my reauthorize all button, and everything else will be reauthorized. Again, this is a way to speed up the process for you. You don't have to physically click the button for each one. We do want you to review each one and make sure that you do want to reauthorize them. But you only have to physically change the, individually change the status on the ones that don't need to be reauthorized, that you need something else different, such as removed or disclaimed. And once you've done that, then use your reauthorize all button to change everything else to AAA reauthorize. Again, if you make a mistake in reauthorizing them all, you can go back and change a status individually, and it'll change just that one. Everything else will still be reauthorized. But if you need to completely undo all of the ones that you reauthorize and do it again, you can use the undo reauthorize all button, and it takes you back to AAA notified. Okay, so I'm going to reauthorize all one more time. Now reauthorize, and I'm now happy with that, and I can search for another user or another organization for this user. So now I'll just change to NOS and search, and I can do the same thing. So as you see, we have some that we already reauthorized earlier in a previous test, but then we have some that say AAA notified. So if I go back to the top and say reauthorize all, everything that currently says AAA notified now changes to AAA reauthorized. Okay, so that's why it's important that you make the changes first. It's better to make the changes that you want first that are not being reauthorized, and then you could go back and reauthorize everything else. It does work the opposite. You can do it this way too. So you can go back and do, after you reauthorize, go back and do the ones that you want to do something differently, but we recommend doing it the other way, making the individual changes first and then using reauthorize all once you've made your individual changes. Okay, hopefully that has not confused you, but clarified how to use the new features that you have in Grants Online. We will have a manual available for you before you start the process next Monday. They will be available on our training page. So you can go to our help tab, or you can use the help out on the login screen before you log in. Go to the training site and click on whichever category you find yourself in. At the top of the page, you will see some links. These are still the ones from last year, but we will be updating them for the FY 2020 guidance document and this particular webinar that we are recording for FY 2020. Okay, once the window is closed on November the 8th, that's the last day that you can do your reauthorizations. Once that window is closed, then any status for your users that still say AAA notified, we are considering that you have not completed your task to do the reauthorization. So please make sure that you get everything changed from AAA notified to a different status, and that will let us know that you reviewed all of your users. Again, the manual and the webinar will be available on our training page. Again, I'm going to the help tab. I'm going to go to the training site, and you can click on whichever one of these. Right now, we only have it on the recipient page, but after, by Monday, you will see it available on all of the pages, whatever category you find yourself in. If you're not in Grants Online, I'm going to go ahead and log off here. And you need to get to that training site. There's two ways to do it from our login screen before you log in. You can use this link right here that says Grants Online Training, or you can click on the Need Help button, and it also opens up our Help tab with information about the help desk and gives you the link to our training site. Let me reiterate one additional piece of information that you need to know. Please remember, if you are a federal AAA and you need to make changes other than removing a person, then you will need to contact our help desk the way you normally do. If you need to add a new person, or if you need to change some roles other than the ones that you see on the screen, just send an email to our help desk and we will make those changes for you. However, they will not be reflected in the AAA authorization window. We will get those changes made and you will see them on the user accounts, but they will not be on the reauthorization window. So make sure you just go ahead and reauthorize the roles that are on the screen and then submit us changes and we will make the needed changes. For the recipients, you again have the ability to make the changes that you need to make yourself. I want to emphasize that making those changes does not constitute reauthorizing the user accounts. You must go through this exercise to actually reauthorize the user accounts. But if you need to make changes, use the guidance documents we've already provided so that you can make the changes. And I believe that is all that we want to cover in this particular webinar. We do have a help desk, as we've mentioned a few times. However, our help desk is not staffed to handle too many calls at the same time. We are experiencing a low staffing right now. We're working on it, but we need to make sure that we can get to the most important questions that we can. And so please try to use the webinar. Please try to use our user guidance to answer your own question. But if you truly need to contact the help desk, we are here for you. We will put your request in our queue and we will get back to you as soon as we can. So we appreciate all of our customers. We appreciate your feedback. Feel free to send us feedback for this process, and maybe there's some things we can do to make next year's process even better. We thank you for joining us and have a good rest of your day.